talk about the Silurian Hypothesis. So let me start off by saying this. The stuff you're going to hear in this video is going to sound like stuff you'd hear in conspiracy theory talk, but it isn't. For the record, I personally don't believe in the ancient aliens talk. I think people back then were just as capable as people are nowadays, maybe a bit more so to be honest, and I also don't see the practical benefits for a highly advanced species to travel light years across the galaxy specifically to meddle in human affairs and not make it more obvious. That being said, I like to think I have an open mind, and I like entertaining concepts like this and discussing the potential consequences and possibilities that such scenarios might imply. So, just to clarify, this isn't arguing that there really was some hyper-advanced precursor race out there. This is more just the philosophical and scientific discussion on whether or not it could be true and wondering if we could even identify it. Cool? Cool. Good. Well, we're on the same page. We are on the same page, right? Okay, just to make sure we're on the same page, the Silurian Hypothesis is a thought experiment that proposed the question of whether an advanced yet prehistoric civilization could be identified from the fossil record. The idea is, deep in Earth's history, another species could have attained sentience and developed a civilization, but because of the marching progress of time, we would never know about it because all of their artifacts and relics and stuff would have disappeared. The original 2018 paper proposing this thought experiment used Doctor Who as a comparison, but for me, I'm going to use another show I happen to like, The Secret Show. Y'all remember The Secret Show, right? It was this cute little silly cartoon from the early 2000s, showed on BBC and Nicktoons for a while. It was so cute and fun. Nobody? I'm the only one? Okay, alright, I'm sorry. So there's this episode called Ammonite Rule, right? It starts off with us receiving a bunch of packages via asteroid delivery, and they end up building a space-time portal with it. Unfortunately, as soon as they turn on the portal, it breaks, and the Uz leaders are very upset.
And the Earth is doomed. I don't know why I bother!
Human beings don't own the Earth. We rent it from the planet's former occupants, the Ammonites.
We rent the Earth? From Ammonites?
Yes, you heard that right. Apparently the Ammonites, the prehistoric order of cephalopods that once existed on Earth millions of years ago, evolved into a sentient species, but were forced to leave Earth and colonize another planet. And as Earth's original intelligent civilization, humanity rents the right to live on Earth from them. I freaking love this show. Now let's put the show on hold for a bit and let's address this. For one, how come this isn't common knowledge? I mean, sure, it makes sense for a secret government agency to know about stuff like this, but on the other hand, you'd think if the Ammonites really did evolve into a sentient species and built up civilization, then we'd find more signs of them in the fossil record, right? Monuments to their gods, great walls to their cities, archives for their descendants to remember them by, something. So where are all they? What could such a civilization leave behind to be remembered by future generations? Well, I once met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped like these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. On the pedestal these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look upon my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away." This poem by one Percy Shelley paints the whole crux of this thought experiment. Though our monuments are ancient and grand, they are not invincible. Over time and without constant care from their creators, all things crumble to dust, even the labors of the mightiest kings. The History Channel show Life After People approached this from a similar angle. If humans were to disappear from Earth, what would happen to the things that we leave behind? Their appraisal, based off of a 2007 book titled The World Without Us, was that most of humanity's achievements would be lost over time due to natural processes.
So what will remain 10,000 years after we go to tell the story of the once great civilizations that ruled the Earth? Iron corrodes, concrete crumbles, wood and paper decay.
Even the radio signals we've been broadcasting outward into space redshift into background radiation after a certain distance from Earth. In the end, there's very little that a civilization of our technological capability could leave behind that would be able to last more than 10,000 years. Looking at the Silurian Hypothesis through that lens, coupled with the fact of how rare it is for fossilization to occur in the first place, it suddenly becomes a lot easier to believe that we might just miss a former civilization that lived in the past. So, is that it? Are these sentient ammonites doomed to be forgotten by us until they step out of the shadows themselves? Well, not entirely. While finding direct evidence, arrowheads, sculptures, towers like that, while that might be unlikely, it's possible we could find indirect evidence of such a society. You might have heard the term Anthropocene floating around the internet. So the whole argument for this is, as of the Industrial Revolution, humans have officially begun to change their environment radically enough that such changes could feasibly be detected in the geological record. Mostly this is hints of atmospheric changes by pollution or land development, mass extinction of species by human means both directly and indirectly, stuff like that could be detected by looking at geological samples drilled into rock or ice. Now, I highly doubt that the Ammonites, or us for that matter, would take much pride in being remembered for all the environmental and ecological damage caused by their civilization's reign of Earth, but nevertheless is a surefire way to test whether they were here or not. This leads into another question. Suppose that, whether or not we're aware of them, suppose the Ammonites decide to return and make themselves known. How would our two cultures interact with one another? I mean, sure, there's lots of scenarios for alien first contact, that's one thing. But with a precursor race native to Earth, there's always that key factor in any talks that we would have with one another. The fact that we share an origin. For the Ammonites, Earth is just as much their home world as it is ours. In some ways, maybe more so. They evolved here first, after all. They may still have some deep ties to Earth, but that doesn't change the fact that it's no longer strictly their home, and even if they did want to move back in, so to speak, they'd have to find some way to live alongside the existing race, which has evolved there in their absence. In the Secret Show, the Ammonites have a pragmatic mindset when it comes to this. They recognize that while they are the original quote-unquote owners of Earth, it would be cruel to just kick humans off simply for evolving to live there in their absence. So instead, they decide to maintain their off-world colonies and rent ownership of the planet to us to ensure that we care for and maintain the planet in their stead.
And the rent?
Oh, the rent is nothing more than this rare slipper orchid from the top of Mount Kinabalu of the South China Sea.
Oh, it's beautiful!
That's the rent?
Yes. If that flower still survives on Earth, then the Ammonites know that we are caring for their world, and all is well.
Oh, what a wonderful, poetic way to... Hold on. This flower's plastic!
Yes, the real ones died out years ago due to global warming. Goodbye!
I freaking love this show! And once they've discovered that the humans tried to pay them with a fake orchid, the Ammonites decide to evict humanity, moving the entire population to the moon while they send teams to repair the ecological damage caused to Earth's climate. So how's that for motivation to clean up the Earth, eh?
We're still replanting the rainforest, Nibbles McP. Could take till Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Yeah, and then there's the ozone to sort out, so, well, you're looking at a couple of weeks. And then there's this last thing on the Ammonites list. What is a dodo? And where do I find one?
Oh!
But yeah, so the Silurian Hypothesis. Do I think it could have happened? Maybe. mean, given what we know about the prehistory development of life on Earth, I'd say it's unlikely that a prehistoric species would have developed sentience and not left behind some trace. But that being said, I think it's foolish to throw around the word impossible, especially when it comes to anything regarding unknown unknowns. And especially, it's also foolish to assume that we know everything there is to know. Do I consider it an intriguing possibility? Absolutely. The universe has existed for 14 billion years thus far, and life on Earth has only existed for the tail end of that time. But considering such massive stretches of time and space, it's not hard to imagine such a scenario where two cultures evolve on one planet, yet are not separated by space, but are separated by time. But I'm curious to hear what you all think. Do you think there's any merit to the Silurian Hypothesis, or is it doomed to lurk forever in the realm of science fiction? So yeah, feel free to ramble below about it, and I didn't prepare any sort of closing speech for this.